as a child, it was an amazing thing, because until then I didn't know how things work. And here was a whole plan of how it worked. And one of those things was the guardian angel.
Look who we're hanging with.
That would be me.
Look who we're hanging with.
Jason David Frank.
Boom shakalaka.
Please do not change channel.
Hello, World Wide Web. Welcome back to the Hangin' With Web Show. I'm GW Pomichter. We are at Authors in a Box in the Indian River Mall in Vero, Florida. And we are hanging right now with author Arthur Doweyko. Did I do that right?
Close enough.
Not far enough off to make you mad, just far enough off to confuse you. And Arthur is the author of As Wings Unfurl and Algorithm.
Yes.
All right, man. Thank you very much for coming over and hanging with us today.
Thanks for having me here.
First of all, how's the show going for you?
Well, it's been slow. A lot of people are Christmas shopping, and they're always looking away. So I really have to stick my leg out from under the table and to catch their attention.
Well, I usually find if you trip the kids, it slows the parents down a little.
Right, right.
But but they're fast.
They are fast. They scurry away.
They scurry away before you can get them sometimes. All right, so. We're artists, we do what it takes. All right, so let's talk about As Wings Unfurl. We'll start there. All right, tell us a little bit about the book.
All right, it's the second book that I've written. It's about a Vietnam War veteran who returns from the war, missing a part of his leg. He's addicted to morphine. He feels himself a coward and really not much to live for. And he's working out of an old bookstore in Newark, New Jersey that nobody actually goes to. That's how it starts. It gets better, I promise.
It's all uphill from there.
I promise, exactly. There's only one way to go. And so one day...
All my vets out there are going, wow, dude, really?
Yeah, this is a sleeper.
Yeah.
But,
no, he wasn't watching you. It's a fictional story. Any resemblance to your life is entirely intentional. Okay, so
what happens? What makes it interesting? So one day, somebody steps into the store right after an attempted robbery, claiming to be his mental block. Sorry, claiming to be his guardian angel. Of course, he could have asked, "Where were you before?" But
yeah,
she showed up, and it turns out that she's not really a guardian angel at all. But she knows everything about him, and they're about to step off into an adventure of a lifetime. And obviously all books are an adventure of lifetimes, but this one focuses on a rather malign, or malignant, I should say, set of so-called angels who are about to turn the tables on mankind and kind of reverse what they did in establishing us here to begin with many years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. Where do you go from that?
No doubt. No, I mean, you hit everything. You got some paranormal things happening there. You've got a deep character development in the story of your main character, your lead character. What drew you to this story?
I lived through the Vietnam era, and I saw a lot of people that never came back, and I saw a lot of the Vietnam vets treated very poorly. So it's stuck in my mind for many years, and I figured maybe it's time to get one of these guys to be a hero, despite himself. So the angel, so-called angel, does help him get around his addiction and gives him a new purpose in life, that purpose being to save mankind of all things.
And you know what, guys? Y'all know me on the show. There is no better call to action if someone has to save mankind than a down on his luck vet. Right. Because there's a hero in there somewhere.
Well, in fact, he did something heroic. He just blames himself for a number of deaths that occurred, and he can't get past it. So he's got this huge guilt complex that fed his addiction to morphine, which was of course needed because he had his leg amputated at the scene. So he's not been doing well. And so the way it works is this so-called angel reveals herself to him bit by bit. At first you really think she is an angel, but gradually you realize that she's not, that she's something very, very different. That was something we've never encountered before. And she's dealing with other folks much like her that have a really bad motivation, a dark motivation.
You can see it. He's trying so hard not to spoil it for you.
I don't want to give you. I don't want to tell you. That's enough.
That's right.
That's probably it.
But at the same time, you do want to buy this. You want to see this book.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what drew you to parallel those kinds of stories? You had a Vietnam vet down on his luck. You wanted to raise him up into a hero.
Oh,
but
sure.
then you had you have an angelic superhero,
right.
or supernatural, element to your story. What drew you to want to parallel those things together, to push, mash them up, as it were,
sure,
and create your world?
It was an experience I had while going to Catholic grammar school. This is a while ago. Where we were taught about guardian angels, of course. In fact, I have to say that Catholic school was a great eye-opener for me, because it was the first time I realized how the world worked. There was a God, there was all this stuff arranged for us. I'm not saying it's wrong, but as a child, it was an amazing thing, because until then I didn't know how things work. And here was a whole plan of how it worked. And one of those things was the guardian angel. So I didn't take much stock in it, except for one day I was walking to school, and as usual, as kids daydream. They're thinking about something else. I was thinking about something else, and I, for no reason at all, stopped at a street corner, because I was just going on across streets without really looking. Kids do that all the time.
As we did, yes.
Yeah, I do this all the time. And so this one moment I stopped, and a car or a truck just zoomed by. That would have knocked me out or killed me. And I thought right away of the day before, where I learned about guardian angels. I figured, well, that must have been a guardian angel just tugged at me. I felt a tug, I think. So my imagination raced ahead, and I never forgot that moment. So that moment locked in with somebody desperate for meaning in his life. And I figured, okay, so if there are guardian angels, what would they do with this person? Maybe they're not really guardian angels. That's my background in science and science fiction. I wanted a reasonable reason why there would be such a creature, and I think I came up with one.
I like the idea of that you seem to have taken that whether you would subscribe to the idea that we have a guardian angel or whether you wouldn't. If there's a being, if there's something that exists, it has an agenda of its own, and we can't know that agenda. Maybe you feel like your life was saved, and that's awesome.
Right.
But you'll never know why, if that served another person or another entity's agenda or your own.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I like the idea that you've taken the guardian angel and said, well, maybe not.
Right.
Maybe their agenda's not altruistic or what we ascribe it to be. And a lot of writers in recent years, especially, and I will say this, I give credit to our teachers growing up. Catholic school children tend to be really, really, really questioning people. We look at what we were taught and the environment we were taught in, and we tend to question everything. And I've talked to so many other Catholic school children who have said, when I grew up, I thought about this, and I asked this question, I asked that question. And I'm reminded of, even comedically, I'm reminded of the movie Dogma. Mm-hmm. Right. And both Ben Affleck and Matt Damon are Catholic school children and grown up, and they said, no, we're going to question all of that. And we do that a lot, and you've done that in a way that was, like you said, science fiction-y and science-based, where you say, hey, okay, maybe it's there. That's what I was taught. Maybe it's not what I thought it was.
Right. What else could it be?
That's kind of neat. Right. That's a really neat question to ask people. What are readers thinking?
I think by and large they enjoy it. It's an unusual science fiction book because if you're familiar with the film noir mysteries, detective stories of the 40s or so, where everything is kind of gray or dark, There's a lot of dark alleys. There's a lot of strange things going on in cities. It's very urban, and that's what this feeling is in this story. It's really tough to take something that's a religious dogma and warp it into a science fiction story, which is what I think I accomplished, and that people get a kick out of that because it's giving a new, shining a different kind of light on what we assume is dogma.
What's a perspective?
It could still be true. For instance, in the story, it's pretty much assumed that the religion was correct, that a lot of these religions that point to are coming into being only a few thousand years ago, maybe 5,000 to 10,000 years ago, right? And everything before that didn't exist, okay? So how do you get that into a story using science? And that's a tough one because it's almost creationism, but it isn't. There is a way to formulate a scenario where we did come into being only about 10,000 years ago, and all that fossil stuff has an explanation.
I like that.
It's in there.
I like that.
I can't tell you what it is.
Really, really cool. So, I'm working on algorithm. All right, forget about it. Go that way. Wow, behind the camera, they're nosy. They love your T-shirt.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, your Dragon Con T-shirt. Are you a Dragon Con attendee?
I was. I in fact was on a panel where we discussed how to live forever. Yeah, it's one of the things we do at Dragon Con.
It is. He's not telling that's the true statement. Wow, that is for those of you that aren't familiar with the convention circuit. Dragon Con is certainly the East Coast's largest, most prolific convention. And I'm arguably growing fast enough to give everybody in San Diego a run for their money.
85,000 people this past summer.
Yep, and it's 5 central hotels, numerous other motels, hotels, and etc. And it's downtown Atlanta's. It's downtown Atlanta.
They take over the city.
It's not a convention center. It's a city. The parade from Dragon Con is, whether you guys know this or not, is
awesome.
Is Atlanta's largest parade, actually.
I could believe it,
during the year, is the Dragon Con parade.
Yeah.
We always encourage our convention followers to do that, and I'm not going to read that card because I'm going to ask him about algorithm. He's going to tell me about algorithm.
Yes, Algorithm is my debut novel. It's rather large, long for a debut novel, but hey, I had to tell the story, so there it was. It was that long. It's a story of our origins, our destiny, and our purpose. And it's told from a perspective of pure science. Of course, we thread in a bunch of science fiction to make it fun, but it involves a young boy chasing a ball through a basement window that it crashed through. He wanted that ball really bad, got into the cellar, fell into a pile of coal. His hand grabbed one piece of coal and he noticed a shiny golden streak in it. And later on he found out it was a gold medallion. He ignored it, being a kid, just had this as a souvenir, but by the time he was 20-something, he was a professor in university and had a chance to analyze that medallion. The medallion was found to have DNA code written in it, and whose DNA? Ours. And this is a piece of, this is an artifact that got caught in something that became coal. Now, if you research coal, you'll find out
it's organic.
It's organic. It takes a while to form, at least a few thousand years, as much as 100 million years. Hard to date the coal because it's coal. So the next feature is that we have characters in this that are Nazis, aliens, a chance to leave the Earth and get to the planet or the thing that actually where we stemmed from, where we came from.
He's got Nazis. He's got aliens. He's got other planets.
Aliens.
He's got what are, I believe, archaeologists are now referring to as exotic artifacts.
Yeah.
Is the correct terminology for it. I believe when an artifact doesn't fit the current archaeological record,
that's right,
it's an exotic artifact. And he's got everything. One book. Huge. Check out Algorithm. We're going to put links down below. We've been hanging out with Arthur. All right, I'm going to try it. Dowekyo.
Doweyko.
Doweyko. Almost had it. All right, we've been hanging out with Arthur Doweyko, the author of As Wings Unfurl and Algorithm. As we wrap it up, we want to say thanks to our partners and our friends over at Space Coast Comics, Jake Estrada and David Grace, our good friends at Something Unique Magazine, our great friend Rick Shea at Famous Faces and Funnies, Off the Chain Radio with author Yvonne Mason, and our dear friends at Pound the Grape. We have been here all day long at Authors in a Box in the Indian River Mall, hosted by our good friend author Joanne Fisher. And we hope you'll stay tuned in and you'll stay logged on. Remember to hit subscribe. Check the links down below, everybody. Keep coming back to see who we're hanging with next. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was awesome.
That was fun.
We'll be right back.